So I made a bad financial decision. I purchased Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I thought that perhaps a small little game like this would be a great candidate for my first ever speedrun attempt. After all, it's just a small little tech demo. All I've got to do is map out the best path, master a few little mini games, and bing bang boom, I've got myself a world record, right? Little did I know that Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour would prove to be one of the most tedious, skill-intensive, and, strangely enough, luck-based speedruns known to gaming. Let's take a look at how I tried and failed miserably to speedrun a glorified game manual. The key to any good speedrun is the mapping. It doesn't matter how well you play the game, if you're not taking the path of least resistance, another player will and destroy your time. There are 4 main types of achievements that you need to get in order to 100% the game. The first is stamps. Basically, you go around the different models of the Switch 2 and its accessories and identify all of its different parts. These could be objects of major gameplay importance like control sticks and main buttons, or something we might not always have on our mind, like rubber caps or air intake parentheses lower left. These are required for base completion, as getting every stamp in each area allows you to visit the next one. On my first playthrough, some of these were a nightmare to find, especially because the player's running speed is not the best and the character isn't super fun to control. There's just something frustrating about searching and searching through this oversized piece of plastic, only to realize that I missed back cover locking mechanism. For a speedrun, all you have to do is memorize where every stamp is placed and then map out an optimal path. In fact, if we're talking any percent completion, all you have to do is find all of the stamps and head to the final area to take the final quiz. Oh yeah, this game ends with a quiz. How exciting. I mean, come on, it's not like we needed some kind of elaborate final boss, but this is your climax? School? Final quiz at least is kind of hard. Like, I don't know if it's called a magnetic connector or magnetic port. I didn't study. Actually, I admit I totally cheated on the final quiz in order to beat the game the first time, but I'm sure it's really no big deal. I bet everybody... But we're not going for any percent completion. We're going for a 100% speed run. And in order to do that, we're gonna need to complete the rest of the game's content beyond the stamp. So what else does this game have in store? Text. Lots and lots of text. And more quizzes. Better hit the books. Before you take each quiz, there's a bunch of text that tells you about Switch 2 hardware stuff, like how the game cards work and stuff like that. And this isn't just information that's relevant to the consumer, like, hey, don't put Switch 2 cards into Switch 1. It's like scientific knowledge about how computers work. Honestly, this is another great reason why this game shouldn't have been $10. If it were free, a lot more people would have it and would be encouraged to learn about all this tech stuff. But let's talk about the parts of the game that are where we should be getting our money's worth. The gameplay. So Welcome Tour's gameplay is split up into minigames and tech demos. Tech demos usually don't require much skill on the part of the player and mostly boil down to seeing what kind of interesting things the console is capable of. The minigames, on the other hand, definitely require skill. In some instances, a lot of it. The structure of each minigame is based around getting a certain score that aligns with getting either 1, 2, or 3 medals. Getting the 3rd medal on some of these minigames takes insane precision. Also, most of the minigames have more than one version, which become unlocked after you 1. Beat the first level, and 2. Have a certain amount of medals. Most level 2s require around 10 medals, level 3s require between 30 to 60 medals, and level 4s can require up to 100 medals to play. So yeah, there is a lot of gameplay related content in Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Does it make it worth the $10? Technically yes, but I think the price of this game isn't so much about the money itself, it's about the principle. While the $10 I spent on this game is not something I'll miss, as I literally spent more at Burger King right before I filmed this video, if it were free, I would feel a much deeper connection to it. We all love free samples, right? That's what this game should have been. A free sample. If it were a tie-in game, I would feel like, ooh, I'm getting a special little treat for my console. Which, by the way, is exactly how I felt playing Wii Sports back in the day. But that's enough about the price. Let's get back to talking speedrun strategy. So in order to properly map out a speedrun, you as the player are going to need to figure out the least amount of player steps you have to take to properly visit each and every stamp, quiz, tech demo, and minigame in order to interact with all of them as quick as can be. Oh wait, I almost forgot forgot, there's a lost and found fetch quest where you have to return lost items found around the exhibit. For some reason, you can only hold one lost item at a time, which will only further complicate your path. One last thing, you can fast travel back to minigames that you have already played. So once you get the right amount of medals to play the higher levels of each minigame, you'll need to perfect your quick menu navigation in order to teleport back to each previous minigame. So even with perfect mapping, you're still gonna need a heck of a lot of skill in order to get through these minigames as fast as possible on the first try. Most of the minigames revolve around the mouse controls, which control quite well, but some of these minigames can be extremely difficult to get full completion on. I'm still in the process of mastering a lot of them. Okay, still in the process of mastering all of them. For example, I had a lot of trouble with this one where you're supposed to swim. I just kept going around in circles. Some of these minigames grant you the most amount of medals if you complete them as fast as possible. Like this minigame where you use mouse controls to move a ball through an electric maze. Those minigames already reward speedrunning, but there are other minigames that are all about surviving for as long as possible. Like the one where you control a UFO dodging all these spiky balls. For these minigames, in order to both get every medal and get a good speedrun time, you'll need to memorize the exact amount of time it takes to get the third medal, and make sure your game ends right at that moment, not a millisecond further. This is made even more difficult by the fact that the game actually keeps the score required for the third medal a secret until you've already gotten the first two. So not only are you memorizing all the mapping and quiz answers we talked about earlier, but you're also gonna need to know the top scores as well. As for the tech demos, they each require the player to do a little checklist of each of the things that the game wants to show you about the console. For example, this tech demo made to show off how many pixels there are in 4K displays has you play 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. But the entire level loads on just one screen. Pretty cool concept. I wish they had us play more levels from Super Mario Bros. This way. In order to get the medal, you have to do achievements such as go underground or finish the level as Fire Mario, which requires you to beat the level at least twice, and there's even a secret achievement up here as well. It's important to know what each tech demo's secret achievement is before you play them, since you may be able to achieve them faster if you know what they are before they are revealed. There's also the minigames that require you to have certain Switch accessories that I decided not to purchase. Like there's this minigame that I think revolves around making faces to the Switch 2 camera. I wouldn't know because I didn't buy a Switch 2 camera yet. And there's another minigame that revolves around those back buttons on the Switch 2 Pro controller, but I made the frugal decision to continue using my Switch 1 controller into the Switch 2 era. Until I decide to fork over a little more cash to the big N, I won't be able to fully complete this game or properly attempt a speedrun. Strangely enough, the wheel is not required to complete the game, probably because there isn't anything about the wheel that would make it fundamentally different from just tilting the Joy-Con. Even the car-focused minigame just opts to use mouse controls. Pretty fun though. Alright, so it seems we've mapped out our speedrun. Take the best paths, learn the minigames, beat them on the first try as fast as possible. Don't get me wrong, it would be extremely difficult, but what speedrun is easy? Given the right amount of practice, this is an achievable run. That is, until you consider the luck-based minigames. Now, you might be thinking, but there are no luck-based minigames in Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. And you would be technically correct in saying that. None of the Welcome Tour minigames are designed to be luck-based, but there are 3 minigames in which luck does play a role in getting a faster time. The first, and possibly worst, is Feel the Shape. So Feel the Shape is a minigame where you use the Joy-Con rumble to identify an invisible shape or letter. Design intent-wise, this is not a luck-based game, since the player has to use their own sense of feel and quick thinking skills in order to succeed. In practice, though, this is totally a luck-based game. If you want to get the fastest time, which the game encourages you to do, you would be better off just guessing the letter, as checking for even half a second takes more time than it would to just randomly guess. Okay, seems simple enough. You just have to get a few coin flips in a row. So what? That's what, like a 50-50 chance? And yes, it is a 50-50 chance. And you have to hit that 50-50 4 times in a row. And then the final round is a 1 in 10 chance. Keep in mind that every failure would result in completely restarting the entire run up to this point. And this minigame is located at the Nintendo Switch camera section, which is quite a ways into the game. Which means you've already explored the entire entire console and the docking unit, answering quizzes, finding stamps, and beating minigames at perfect precision along the way, only to very likely be stopped in your tracks right here. But it gets worse. If you are lucky enough to get through this first level of the minigame, they've got a second level waiting for you. And this one has even lower probabilities. The second level of Feel the Shape has 5 sections. The first is a 1 in 3, the second a 1 in 4, the third a 1 in 5, the fourth a 1 in 6, and the fifth is a, drumroll please, 1 in 12. Again, if any of these probabilities don't hit in your favor, you would, through no fault of your own, get a slower run than a player who has. And if you think that's bad, next we've got Match the Rumble, a game where you select cards that rumble in different ways and you have to match them to the other card in the set that rumbles in the same way. Again, the speedrun strat for this is to completely disregard the intended gameplay and just pray that luck is in your favor, correctly guessing each and every card on the first try. At least the odds get marginally better after each successful guess. And there's one more game that involves a little bit of luck, Slot in the Shape. Now, you might be thinking, this one doesn't seem luck-based at all, but actually, it is. See, the shapes don't always spawn in the exact same spot relative to their slots, which means that there is an optimal way for the shapes to appear that would make completing the game go faster. To make matters worse, this minigame has a second level that requires you to slot 8 shapes. So yeah, you might want to get yourself a monkey with a typewriter because it's more likely that that monkey will type Hamlet than you are to get an optimal run on this speed run. I will not be attempting this speed run anytime soon. I not only wouldn't have enough free time, but I don't think I would have enough time left on Earth to do it. But honestly, I don't know if that's really the only reason. Even the minigames that can't be cheese with the right amount of luck would take a colossal amount of time to optimize the skills needed in order to speedrun them. And I would have to perfectly attempt all these minigames in a row while following a strict and rigid path. Look, I consider myself pretty good at video games, but speedrunners are on another level. I'm like a guy who's pretty good on a softball team, but speedrunners are straight up Olympians. It was silly of me to think that I could follow in their footsteps, even with a game as small as this one. I wonder if we ever will see any Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour speedruns. Beyond the luck-based elements, it's honestly a pretty fun speedrun idea. I'd love to see someone attempt it. It just isn't gonna be me. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm surprised that this ended up being my first video after the Switch 2 launch. I really thought I was gonna cover Mario Kart World first. I just was kind of drawn to this Switch 2 Welcome Tour. It's just a weird game. But I definitely am gonna cover lots of other Switch 2 stuff, so subscribe to the channel for that. Oh, also, you wanna see more from me? You can check out some other videos I've got popping up right around here. It's some real good stuff. I think you'll really enjoy it. That's all for me. See you next time.